Good morning, everybody. You might be wondering why I'm sitting here looking at a 3-year Reddit post, and as a matter of fact, so am I. It turns out this post from executive producer Marty Stratton on the r/Doom subreddit from 3 years ago that absolutely threw Mick Gordon under the bus for that absolute debacle of an OST that was supposed to be included with the Doom Eternal pre-orders. I believe the pre-order purchasers did get a copy of it, but it's never made its way to Spotify or any streaming platform as promised. So this post absolutely threw Mick Gordon under the bus, and at this point, I say we all owe this man an apology. He's been drugged through the mud for the past 3 years. His career has most likely been affected. He's been the target of a harassment campaign. Uh, it's a damn shame. It really is. So what happened here is last night as I laid down to rest, what kept me up all night is this absolute unit of a book that Mick Gordon has released on his Twitter. You can go to his Twitter, click the link, it takes you to this Medium post the man wrote. I'm not exaggerating, this is a damn book. The man wrote a table of contents outlining all the issues of the OST, and he comes with receipts. I don't typically take one definitive side over the other when it comes to an argument like this, but when you have proof, when you have evidence, when you have receipts, I'm more inclined to take your side here. It appears that first of all, they put him under a significant time crunch to make these tracks for the dynamic audio engine that Doom uses, that plays different audio loops and tracks depending on what the player's doing and what location they're in, what kind of fights they're doing, and what boss they're killing and whatnot. It would appear that they did not give him a significant amount of time to produce that music to begin with, and he was contracted to do, I believe, 140 minutes worth of music for the game. And since the game had not been completed, the levels had not been completed, an outline of the game's story had not been completed, there was really nothing for him to go off of. So he ended up overproducing over double what he was contracted to do. So he produced more than he was contracted to do. Therefore, they're not really on the hook for paying him for it. The thing is, they used that music. Therefore, they are on the hook for paying him for it at this point. And I don't believe, from what I've read here, there's a lot to read here. I might be missing a few details, but I do not believe Mick has been paid for his extra work from having to, from his rejected audio, things that they held on to and then later rejected, and he had to redo. I don't think he's been paid for half of his work on the dynamic audio at all. Now, as far as the OST goes, when the OST was announced at E3 2019, we were all promised a OST, an original soundtrack produced by Mick Gordon, and pre-orders went on sale the very next day. The thing is, they never contracted Mick Gordon to make that OST. Think about that for a second. Bethesda, id Software, were selling you a product they had no right to even market or announce or promise. So what happened here is Mick Gordon produced all this extra music for the game, and Chad Mossholder, I believe is his name, was an audio engineer at Bethesda or id, one or the other. Bethesda being the parent company, I'm just going to go with Bethesda from here on out. But I believe most of this interaction had to do with id directly. They just had him splice together very poorly the dynamic audio from the game into a piss poor OST, and that is the product that you received. Was the music produced by Mick? Yes. Was it mixed, mastered, and finessed to perfection by Mick? Absolutely not. Turns out he had no involvement with the OST at all. They actually did contract him to work on it 2 days before the game released, and then they pushed it back to April 29th, I believe. And by the end of it, he had no creative control. He turned over what he had, and he was never given the opportunity to listen to the album before it was released, and that's the album that we got. That's the OST that we got. It was just the dynamic audio loops with some of the 2016 Doom music spliced in, layered on top of each other. There are waveforms down here that Mick posted. I think they're closer to the bottom down here. You can see it's way down here. You can see these audio samples just peaking all to hell. Like this solid line up here, your waveform shouldn't be anywhere near that. Like down here is fine. Up through here is not great. But once you hit this hard peak right here, your audio quality just goes to shit. It's incredibly loud. It's going to sound like garbled garbage. We have the same thing happening here. You can see these high peaks. You can see this poorly spliced together audio. The issue being here is they took the dynamic audio from the game and just recorded the output and then spliced it together. And they just layered this shit on top of each other with no crossfading, no mixing, no mastering, nothing. They just layered these audio tracks on top of one another. And whenever you do that, you no longer have a mixed and mastered product. You have a stupidly loud non-mix. It just sounds like ass. And then what they did is they just lowered the audio back down to 0 and called it a day. Now, I don't want anybody going after Chad Mossholder, I believe is his name. Don't go after him. Don't mess with him. You know, we don't need to be doing a harassment campaign against him. I'm sure he was just doing what he was told to do, and he's probably just inept at it. Who knows? So, all in all here, they didn't give him enough time to do the original work. And once that work was completed, they started selling an OST that didn't exist and he had nothing to do with. He did have some things to do with it. I think there are 6 to 12 songs, I believe, that he actually did get to make good to a certain degree over the course of 29 days. But Bethesda screwed us, guys. id Software screwed us on this one. We were promised a product, an OST, produced, recorded, mixed, mastered by Mick Gordon, and that is not at all what we got. Marty Stratton, I mean, dude, I'm not going to encourage anybody to mess with you. I will encourage people to speak your disappointment on Reddit, speak it on Twitter, let them know that you're upset by this. I believe a lot of us owe Mick Gordon an apology. I was very unhappy with the OST. I was pretty unhappy with Doom Eternal as a whole. 2016 was a much better game, in my opinion. The music was so much better. But Mick here, he comes at this with receipts. He's got emails. He goes on to talk about the harassment that he's been going through for the last 3 years, because we all know how gamers are when we get pissed off. Nobody encourages you to do that. Please don't harass these people. I mean, Mick did the best he could with what he had, and now we're seeing that and we're understanding it. If you went after Mick in any way, I really hope you do offer him an apology. You know, go say you're sorry on Twitter or something. Whatever you got to do. But yeah, I think we can all agree that the music on Doom Eternal was not good. Now, this is an interesting one right here. They did not contract Mick Gordon to make the OST like they said they did when they sold it to you. And he was not contracted to do it until March 8th, I want to say. 2 days before it was initially supposed to come out, and then they moved it back till April. Well, it turns out that id had been working on the soundtrack the entire time without him. As of January, they had been making this abomination of an OST by just splicing together the dynamic audio from the game. They just recorded the audio from the game, spliced it together piss poorly, and called it a day. What they did was they finessed Mick Gordon to do extra work and then they paid an in-house employee substantially less to make the soundtrack that you paid for under false pretenses. And that's just all there is to it, man. Like, this was just a scam. We got finessed, y'all. We got finessed. Mick got finessed. Marty finessed all of us. He finessed, but the whole thing was just a finessing. I, I'm I can't believe it, man. I wish Mick Gordon the best. I love his work. I hope this doesn't affect his career in the long term. I don't think that it will. He's been working on other projects. I think he's going to make a full comeback from this. Marty, you do not deserve to make a comeback from this. How you handled this was piss poor. We all see it now. We have the receipts. We know you were just a complete asshole through all of this, and you really everybody just needs to come through and just check this out. Read it. Don't take my word for it. Read the Reddit post over here where they threw Mick under the bus, and then read Mick's well articulated and receipt filled rebuttal, and make your own opinion on it. But man, we all got finessed. Mick got finessed. This whole thing was a disaster. It was a debacle. He straight up tells him to go to hell right here. They tried to get the man on a gag order. Mick Gordon was offered a six-figure deal to not say a word about any of this so that Marty could save face. That's a tremendous point that I need to make that I forgot about earlier in the video. They offered Mick Gordon six figures to keep his mouth shut, and if anybody asked any questions, to just say no comment. Right here, I can never discuss Doom Eternal, the OST, or the Reddit post. Right here. The new settlement offer was a six-figure sum in return for taking full public responsibility for the failure of the OST. The details were absurd. Marty would keep the Reddit post up indefinitely. He'd never retract his false accusations nor clarify his statement, and his story would forever be considered the truth. I could never discuss Doom Eternal, the OST, or the Reddit post. If ever asked, I had to say no comment. I had to pledge I would never badmouth Marty or anyone working under the ZeniMax umbrella, and I could never criticize any product developed by ZeniMax. I believe Mick is telling the truth because he turned down six figures. He came at it with receipts. And this does not seem like the actions of a man telling a lie. Guys, make your own opinion. Let me know down in the comments how you feel about it. Let me know what you think about Doom. I'm just awestruck. I don't even know how to articulate this properly or really take in all this information. This is wild. Please, like I said, please don't harass anybody. We don't need that. We don't need to do that. This has come to light, and justice will be done on its own. I can't imagine Marty getting away with this unscathed, with or without us. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, Mick, I love you, man. I hope you keep doing your thing. I'm gonna go listen to BFG Division. Y'all have a great day. I'll catch you next time.